Princess Alice not once neglected the memories of meeting with her aunt, Elizabeth FEODOROROVNA, who spoke of starting a nursing order of nuns. This dream was only a thought away for Alice and was perhaps a motivator in getting through her troubles. Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. Tragically, Elizabeth lost her life in the Bolshevik Revolution, but Alice kept her spirit alive by making her dream come true eventually. And she started the Christian Sisterhood of Martha and Mary. Her mother couldn't believe it of her own daughter, exclaiming, "What can you say of a nun who smokes and plays canister?" After her own family had sent her to a sanatorium, Princess Alice rarely saw anyone from her family for the rest of her life, and for the years that followed her freedom, she had absolutely no contact with them at all. It was perhaps her intention to never see any of them again, but tragedy forced her to change her stubborn plans when she lost her daughter. Princess Alice received devastating news in 1937 that a freak accident had occurred involving her daughter CECILLE, her son-in-law, and 2 of her grandchildren. They lost their lives in an air accident that shocked and saddened the world and the royal family. Although she had not been seen by CECILLE in many years, the loss still hit her very hard. Alice would see the rest of her family when she attended her daughter and her family's funeral. And she had been estranged from her husband for at least 6 years when she was awkwardly faced with his presence alongside her son at her daughter's funeral. Philip had been only a boy when she'd seen him last, and now he was a strapping 16-year-old boy. They all shared an understanding, tearful reunion, and it took this tragedy to regain contact with her son, but her relationship with her husband was too far destroyed to reconcile. Alice never forgave her husband for sending her to an asylum and abandoning her there, but her husband had been banned from Greece, and this didn't stop her from returning shortly after to work with the poor. Then World War II broke out, and 5 more years passed with the couple not seeing one another. And when Athens was liberated, she sought to see her husband again, but it was too late. Prince Andrew succumbed to heart failure in Monaco. He had barely seen Alice a handful of times since he sent her to a sanatorium in 1930, and the last time they'd met had been in 1939, 5 years before his passing. Alice told of her horrors during the war to her son, and she emphasised the desperate final days the German occupation had been, and how she had gone many months without meat of any kind. When the British arrived, she had been living on nothing but bread and butter for weeks. The liberation came just in time, because only a little while longer Alice might not have made it. Alice was not a person who desired physical items anymore. She was a humble lady, and this meant that she stuck out like a sore thumb at her son's new wife's coronation. The newly appointed Queen Elizabeth II had one of the most extravagant gilded events in the world, and Alice wore a simple grey dress and wimple, like a nun's habit. She did not stick around for long, and shortly after the coronation, she returned to Greece once again. Greece had always been her home, despite none of her family living there for years, and her own monarchy being in disarray. But as always in Alice's life, that wasn't to stay a stable home for long, as she had to flee once again. Alice would have loved to have stayed in Greece, but the Colonel's coup of 1967 made life there far too dangerous to stay, even for Alice. She had already been a hero during the war, and this title alongside her royal blood made the military dictatorship doubly a threat. Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip heard of her struggles, and they generously invited her to live with them at Buckingham Palace. However, while she made it out of Greece, she didn't have much time left. The people of England were beginning to spread rumours that Prince Philip's mother was going mad, Her appearance at the coronation had only fuelled these rumours, due to her humble nun clothing. Alice was a frailer, deafer, and older version of herself, but she still remained fully lucid until her final days, before passing away on the 5th of December, 1969, in Buckingham Palace. Upon her passing, it would become evident just how penniless the royal was. She had no possessions left at all, and absolutely nothing to pass on. She had generously given all that she had to charities throughout her life, as well as her time. Prince Alice's final wish was to be interred in Jerusalem at the Church of Mary Magdalene on the Mount of Olives. In 1988 she got her wish, and her remains were moved from Windsor Castle to the Holy Land. Later, Prince Philip visited the city, and he said, "I suspect that it never occurred to her that her action was in any way special. She was a person with a deep religious faith, and she would have considered it to be a perfectly natural human reaction to fellow beings in distress." Please continue to support my channel by subscribing. Please comment, like and subscribe if you wish for more stories, and leave your suggestions below and I will endeavour to cover them.